Hi, this is Debbie, and welcome back to Cheyenne Life. I hope everyone has been through the weather in Cheyenne or in Wyoming and has came through on the other side. I believe I saw suburban homesteader Wyoming. She made it through okay. Most of her plants survived, so that's a good thing. And well, we are going to do a little update on the fall garden. So as you can see, I'm showing you some of my flowers right now that we carried inside during the snow and brought back outside as soon as the snow is finished, and they are doing fantastically. A lot of these I had cut far back, way back, when the snow was about to happen because I needed it anyway. And as you can see, they are starting to come back out and are blooming here and there. Of course, they won't be as pretty as they were during the summertime because they are at their end of their life anyway. But we do have some pretty blooms that are in those flowers that were cut way back. And these were actually transplants from seeds that had came up. And they are just beautiful. These will be full and beautiful just like they were in summer because they are the younger plants. Some are going to seed. The basil came through just fine. A little bit of nipping from the cold, but that's okay. And that was also a transplanted pot. And this is the mint that I had trimmed back to save some dried mint. Is already now coming back out, as you can see, and already kind of folding over on itself. So it's going to need to be trimmed back again pretty soon. And the marjoram is blooming, as you can see there. And getting much bigger. The lavender coming back out. And that is the other pot of basil. It is coming back out as well. And it looks like my daisies may bloom again. These are the Gerber daisies. And I think those were pink and maybe orange, or pink and orange and yellow. So it'll be nice to see some blooms again before winter comes along. And the thyme is going to need another haircut. This is all the time that I had cut back and is now just spilling back out over the pot. And even my fuchsia has made it through just fine. And the old 3-season now basil is going to have some more seed pods. So that'll be fantastic. And even the sage has came back out. And finally I am getting some savory. As you can see, there's some of it coming up and out. More blooms here on this one. This one I had cut back an amazing amount, and you can see all sorts of new growth coming in there. The rosemary is just doing fantastically. And even the chamomile, we took this inside the house. And for some reason, she only had the lone one. This is my daughter's chamomile in the pot on this side. And let me show you the peas and Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts came through the cold snap just fine, and the Brussels sprouts on them are getting bigger. So I'm hoping we will have some before probably November, because these will weather through the cold just fine. And here is some of the lettuce. It did get a little nipped with the cold, but it is coming back out. The beets fared through just fine. So I'll have a red leaf lettuce. And I think that was a Grand Rapids over there. And I also planted some bib lettuce, and even some of the carrots came through. The radishes kind of laughed at all of the snow. They're just fine. And I have some pretty big heads on the radishes, this particular bunch here. And the cabbages kind of laughed it off as well, because they are now starting to curl up their leaves, as you can see there. And even the bunching onions are just fine. Parsley. And then there's more bunching onions in the back that you probably can't see very well. And the other bed of lettuce is doing just fine, came through. Beets as well. And more radishes. So everything there came through. But this is the acorn squash. It just got eradicated. I'm going to actually have to pull that out. as you can see, it just did not fare it well at all. So it will not end up having anything else on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it out. The cilantro came through just fine, and the seed pods on the cilantro, as you can see there, are doing just fine. And the peas made it through that cold weather and snow just fine. And just to remind you, we got down to about 18 degrees Fahrenheit on that big cold snap and snow. Even though there wasn't a whole lot of snow, it got really cold. So it's surprising that a lot of this did come through. The beets back here are doing just fine. I did try to save some cucumbers, which did not happen. They did not freeze. I actually covered them up with this pot that you can see right here. But they just do not like the change in the weather. The ground is probably cooler. And they need to be between 75 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit to do well. And the ground is not that right now. So both of the cucumbers do not look like they're going to do much more than what they have. I had some dill that came through just fine. And over here, the zucchini that I covered up, it came through and has now started to put on its center leaves, as you can see there, and is even putting out some blooms. So we may get some more zucchini before the winter comes. And the turnips, I cut all of the tops off because the tops would have frozen. And they're coming back just fine. And as you can see, we have some very large turnips in there, as you can check that out. So we are very happy with that. I will be planting some more turnips, and I have another bed of turnips. The same thing, they came through just fine and have quite large heads on those. And then I had planted some flowers a little bit later than they were supposed to, and I worried that they would come through, but they did just fine, and they're now blooming. So those flowers are going to be doing just fine. And even the roses came through. And we have more blooms on the roses, and it's now beginning to set some rose hips, which I will be gathering rose hips for rose hip tea. You can actually do all kinds of things with rose hips, even make ketchup out of them. And it tastes very similar to tomato ketchup. In fact, I've not heard of any differences. So anyway, that is the garden, the fall update. I wish everyone well. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notices on more videos coming out. And I will see everyone in the next one.